He's Blake. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast Blake, as it's another Friday night, which means as long as the internet holds up, we're going to bring you another Friday the 13th video until we get you a quality Friday the 13th movie. What's up, Blake?
That's right. Happy to be here. Happy Friday, Ronnie. Ronnie boy, you ready for the weekend?
I'm ready for the weekend, and I think for the first time ever, Blake, we'll get to chat to decide if it's my internet or yours. I think your quality internet that you're always bragging about is finally failing you. Yeah. We've got some freezing going on. We've got the loud noise going on. So we'll see how long this lasts. And we got you focused on a baseball game instead of Friday the 13th, part 5, which is where I need your full attention.
Well, that's why I'm going with a different camera angle. You threw a fit because I had the ball game playing in the background. You're like, you can't do that. They'll kick us off. So I'm not turning off the game. So I'll swap the camera.
All right. So real quick, let's check the chat, see if we got anybody in there. We got Allie and Nick. What's going on, guys? Tell me if it's my internet or if it's Blake's internet. You guys hearing some weird sounds with Blake, or does he sound normal to you guys? I love this interaction, Blake.
I may have just figured out what it was, Ronnie.
What was it?
My son had a bunch of stuff hooked up to the computer. He was playing something a while ago, Fortnite or Minecraft or something, and he had a bunch of like headphones and stuff like that connected to the PC part.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to affect your sound. I mean, I'm no computer expert. I don't see how that is going to affect you. Anyway, Blake, you shared something with me earlier this week. Last Friday, we talked about, was it last Friday? We talked about the writer's room from Friday. Yeah. We went, just randomly decided to go live, and
might have been Sunday.
Was it Sunday? Okay. So we randomly decided to go live, and we talked about some just things we wanted to talk about with the Friday the 13th franchise. And you popped up that picture of the writer's room that they've been bragging about and tweeting, like coming up with all these great ideas. And you had tweeted the Crazy Ralph thing. We're all doomed if this is the writer's room.
The show is doomed.
The show was doomed. And then you showed me that they blocked you?
Yeah. Every loser in that picture blocked me on Twitter because of me saying the show is doomed.
Oh.
So it's a good thing they're in the movie business. They're in the TV show business. If they handle criticism like that.
Well, I guess there's two arguments that can be made for that, Blake. I guess one argument is what you just said, that if you can't handle a little criticism. I guess the second argument is they're just going to focus on positive things, and they might want to go ahead and get that block button on Twitter ready, because you can go ahead and guarantee that when this series comes out, it's not going to be good, and they're going to be blocking a lot of people. So, Blake, I had this idea that we would talk about Friday the 13th, part 5.
Yeah.
And we would praise it and talk about all the great things in it, because I think it gets a bad rap, Blake.
It does get a bad rap. And when you compare it to, in my opinion, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie, and it was a success at the box office. So I'm with you, man. I don't understand the hate for this movie.
Well, I think for the longest time, Blake, Friday the 13th, part 5 was a movie that I didn't think much of, but I think it stemmed from the copycat thing. But I think it just gets a lot of hate. And the more and more I watch horror movies, and the more and more I seem to start to love the Friday the 13th franchise more and more, more specifically the first 8 movies, I really think it's a quality installment. Ooh, hit the mic. It's a quality installment, and I think the quality is right up there with.
That's a double play, Ronnie. We got a double play ball. I agree with you. The quality is just as good as the other ones.
Yeah. So I figured we'd come up with some reasons tonight that each one of us come up with some reasons about why this movie gets a lot of hate when it's not deserved, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm fumbling over my words tonight. So hold on a second. Let's bring this right here up. Remind me never to do another stream while you're watching a baseball game.
Yeah, because you're so prepared and into it.
I know. Here we go. So we want to go with your reasons first or my reasons?
It doesn't matter.
All right, we'll go with one of your reasons first, Blake. The red herring aspect of Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Yeah, I mean, they brought something back that hadn't been done since the original, Ronnie. The who done it? Who's doing it? Who's killing all these people? Is it Jason? It can't be. They show Jason all the time in 3 and 4. They're not showing him in this one. So who is doing this killing? There's lots of red herrings. Is it the crazy guy who kills Joey in the beginning, Vic? The guy from Price is Right and Return of the Living Dead? Is it the counselor, the head counselor, Matt, who I still think is Matt? Is it Roy, the paramedic, who you only see for 2 seconds? Is it Lana, who's doing coke in the bathroom of the diner? Is it Tommy Jarvis? I mean, that's one thing I like about this movie is they did something different that technically wasn't different. It's just paying homage to the original, and it worked. What do you think?
Well, you go back to Part 1, Blake, and you have no idea who's doing these killings. All right. They talk about all the weird stuff that goes on at Camp Crystal Lake. You see somebody hiding in the bushes. You see somebody picking up a hitchhiker, but you never know exactly who could be doing the killings. It very well could have been any one of those people that were going to work at Camp Crystal Lake. Part 2, you start off with, what was the main character's name? Alice that survived? Was it Alice?
Crazy Alice.
No, it wasn't Crazy Alice. Was it really Alice?
It was Alice, because in Part 2 it's Jenny.
Yeah, Part 2, the girl from Part 1, Alice, is there, and she gets killed at the very beginning of it, and you assume it's Jason that's doing the killing. But nowhere throughout the movie, you just see people randomly start to get killed, and then I guess Jason pops up there, or somebody with a bag on their head, and it wasn't until the bag came off that you realize, okay, this is Jason. Part 3 and 4, you're absolutely right. We know it's Jason doing the killing, so there's not really much spying going on.
Yeah, I mean, Part 3 is basically from Jason's point of view, Ronnie. I mean, we get a lot of over the shoulder. It's basically the Jason movie. You don't really care about Chris and those characters in that one.
That's a good point, Blake, because in Part 2 you get somebody looking through the bushes, and obviously it's Jason. Part 1 is Mrs. Voorhees. Part 3 is a lot from Jason's point of view, and you see his shoulder, him looking from the barn, constantly throughout the movie. And then Part 4 is just him getting people left and right.
And if you notice, like Halloween 2 did the same thing. It became the Michael Myers show, in my opinion. Like you get a lot of POV from Michael, like the opening scene where he's in the back alley spying on Loomis and Brackett. And I think he's hiding in the garage building of the hospital when the security guard goes out there. I think we get another POVC from Michael in that. Maybe not. But yeah, you get a lot from Michael's perspective too. So it's kind of like they were ripping on that a little bit. But in this fifth one, you get a lot of back to the original stuff, Ronnie, zooming in on his boots, zooming in on what kind of breeches he's wearing and stuff like that when he's walking around. You don't really get, any upper body shots of him, his hand and stuff like that.
You just see somebody that appears to be a male doing the killing. And if you go back and focus at the very beginning of Friday the 13th, Part 5, I thought they did a really good job tying 1 through 4 to 5 and what they were going to do, because you get the Corey Feldman return, you get the cameo of Corey Feldman in the woods in the rain wearing the yellow slicker. He's watching these two weirdos dig up what is apparently Jason's grave, and then you get that shot of Jason with the real Jason mask as the worms crawl out of the eye spots. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's awake. He kills the two people that have dug him up. Tommy's watching from the bushes. He stands up. He walks over to the bushes right there at Tommy, and you assume he kills Tommy. And then Tommy wakes up in the back of a van for, a psycho ward that's taking him to a halfway house. So at the beginning of the movie, they let you know, hey, Jason's dead. And if it's just the fact that the movie's called Friday the 13th Part 5. And then, like you said, the red herring aspect, they do everything in this movie they can to make you think that Tommy Jarvis is the one doing these killings. When we actually focus on Tommy Jarvis, he's having psychotic breakdowns. He's seeing Jason. He's having anger fits where he's squeezing. He's attacking people. He's a real quiet weirdo, something that he wasn't in part 4 as a little kid. So, I mean, I agree with you 100% on this. I love the red herring aspect of this movie because unless you're like we talked about, I'm a terrible movie watcher. At no point did I think Roy, but I mean, it could possibly be Matt. Matt could be tired of all these crazies and killing them off one by one in Jason fashion, so he won't get blamed. It could be Tommy. It could be and I think that's an angle you went with.
It could be Ethel.
It could be Ethel and Junior because Junior could be playing the dummy, and then he's really out there killing the people because Mama said to. And then you got your Jason aspect right there, a stupid, slow person in Junior, and Mama telling him what to do, the evil stuff. So they could have worked that in there. And it could have been Vic. Vic could have escaped the cops. They could have come back at some point in the movie and say, "Hey, Vic escaped custody. You guys need to watch out. Maybe he's the one in the woods doing all this." And then we find out at the end, it's a estranged father who's mad that his son got killed. But we'll talk more about that later. But I think the red herring aspect of this movie is great. And I also think that's the reason a lot of this movie, a lot of the hate this movie gets is because it's not Jason doing the killing.
Well, yeah. They had another opening idea, Ronnie, that was wrote down on paper. It's where it's the night that Tommy kills Jason, and Tommy's going nuts at the hospital. He's beating up nurses and doctors trying to get to Jason's room to see if he's really dead. And soon as he goes in that room, Jason sits up, and that's when he wakes up.
Oh, so, really? That would have been an awesome beginning too.
Well, they said that made Tommy more of a red herring than this other intro did, because in this other intro, he's more of a victim. In this one that didn't get made, he's beating people up. He's literally hurting people to get to Jason. So, what's up, Mav? How you doing, buddy? Hey, Allie. Hey, Nick. I was distracted. I'm sorry. Haven't been paying attention to the chat.
There we go. Nick Push is here. Allie's here. I'm still scrolling down. Let's see. Nick says it's weird. It's similar to the original, but doesn't have the nostalgia for people. And I think that's just because of lack of Jason. Allie says that some of the best kills are in this movie. That's coming up.
Yep.
Allie said, don't worry about it. She's watching hockey. Nick says that the porn director who directed this looks like a freak. I don't know what he looks like. And I know the porn director does get a lot of hate for this movie, I guess, for that one specific scene. Is it Reggie's grandpa? What are we talking about here, Blake? Reggie's grandpa.
Where we're going through all the characters, it could be the killer.
Oh, no, it was never. I never thought it was Reggie's grandpa. I never thought it was Cookie. Hey, Mav, what's going on, man? Glad you're here. So, Blake, you said the red herring aspect.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one of my reasons why this movie is great. No Crystal Lake, but it's still okay because I think they do a good job of explaining why it's not at Crystal Lake, Blake. Tommy Jarvis is an insane asylum halfway house. So he's out literally in the woods. And all this is taken apart. See, I think a lot of people get fixated on it needs to be at the camp at all times. What I can assume is this is still in the town because we get, quotes from the sheriff and the mayor talking about Jason Voorhees. And maybe this movie is supposed to be near Crystal Lake. But I would like to think that taking Tommy Jarvis, whose whole family was destroyed. I know his sister wasn't killed, but his whole life was destroyed at a house near Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
He's just now getting where he's halfway normal. I don't think you would take him back to the area where his whole life ended to try to scare him straight with a bunch of other crazy people.
Well, if you're going to be mad at this movie for no Crystal Lake, then you got to be mad at part 3, Ronnie. Because let's be honest, there's no Crystal Lake in part 3. I mean, sure, you see a puddle of water that Vera falls into after she gets an arrow in the eye, but that was man made and it looked terrible. There was no lake shots in part 3. So if you're gonna be mad at part 5 about that, then you got to be mad at part 3.
Yeah, part 3 does give you that one at the very end, though. But I mean, like you said, it's supposed to be on the lake, but really, part 3, an alternate title for that movie could have been called The Barn, because that's all it's fixated on was Jason luring people into the barn and killing people in the barn.
Yeah, and Allie with a great point in the chat. Even without the lake, they do a good job of making it still feel campy, Ronnie. I mean, you still feel like you're isolated in the woods, right? I mean, even though it's like a halfway house, but yeah, I mean, it still has that creepy vibe to it, like you're stuck out there, you know?
Yeah, it does give you that the feel of isolation, and that the only people near you are Ethel and Junior, who are wackos that don't want you nowhere around and want you dead. So, and I guess it's tying back into yours with the red herring aspect. It's the perfect scenario, because any of those guys in that place could have been the killer. We're watching this movie thinking Jason's returned the whole time, but it doesn't need to be Jason if that makes sense to make this a good movie. So, okay, see, Allie brings this up. They're at a camp for criminals. But is that true, Allie? Are they really at a camp for criminals? Because once we get into the characters here in a minute, did all of them commit like a violent crime, or are all of them just wacko? I mean, I don't know. Let me do my next one, Blake, before we get into yours, because that ties into what she just said. I want to go
Okay.
twice. I want to go twice in a row. This movie has some great characters, Blake. This movie may have some of the best characters in a singular movie up until this point. Now, everybody's always going to point to the final chapter as the movie that brought it all together, with a ton of characters that you actually care about, those secondary characters, and Tommy Jarvis and his sister and Rob and the whole crew of teenagers that you actually do care about what happens to most of them. So that's the most complete movie. I would argue that this is in the top 3 of movies where you care about the characters as well, because just a second here.
You know, you talking about the characters, and you and Allie were discussing, like, what did they do? Are they criminals or what? Tommy legit seems insane. Joey has issues. Jake, the stutterer, has issues. Vic, obvious anger issues. But these other people, Violet's doing this weird thing in the hallway, but I don't see any issues with them. You know, I mean, I don't think it's I never put that criminal twist on it like Allie did. I always just thought special needs or something along those lines.
After this movie, only 60% of the franchise featured Jason as the killer.
I'm guessing he's counting the 200 killers in Jason Goes to Hell. That's not Jason.
I think that's what he's talking about. Because, okay, look, part 7 is Jason. Part 6 is Jason.
Part 8's Jason.
Part 6, part 7, part 8 is Jason. And then, all right, Nick's going to try to explain. He's blowing my mind right here. The final chapter has much better characters. However, this movie arguably may have more memorable characters top to bottom. I would agree 100% with that, Nick.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I can go that far, because I'm thinking about Jimbo. I'm thinking about Ted. I'm thinking about the twins.
The twins
from part 4.
I made us a nice little visual display right here, Blake, to talk about the characters, because I love the characters in this movie, and I agree with Nick Push 100%. I think there's a ton of characters that you remember, and I got them all labeled right here. Allie says, well, in real life, a halfway house takes all levels of people, crimes, people that have been institutionalized. They all definitely have issues, which would line up with what they got right here. Blake, real quick, hot take: is this movie any better if it takes place like in an insane asylum, or did they have to make an insane asylum in the woods to have a Friday the 13th Part 5 like this?
You just hit it. They had to make one in the woods to give it that feel.
Okay. So you got Tommy Jarvis. Now, this guy, I believe his last name's Shepard. I really don't know. He's not the best actor in the world. In our audio podcast, we made fun of him saying he had like 5 lines, and he shows the ability to fight throughout this movie. And then when he comes up against Jason, all he really does is get slashed across the chest and climb around
Don't.
while Reggie saves the day. He sweats. He's taking pills. He plays a really good psychotic person. But at no point do I feel attached to this Tommy like I do Corey Feldman in Part 4 or Tom Matthews in
Yeah.
Part 6.
Or Corey Cunningham in Ends. I agree with you 100%.
Next, you got the Corey Feldman cameo at the beginning. I think that's really awesome. I think the fact that they brought Corey Feldman back to sort of finish his role before he became so big of a star. I think he was on the set of Goonies during this. So I think that was a good thing. They give us that awesome intro.
Dude, how lucky are we that Shepard did not sign on to do 6? He was offered the role and he didn't take it.
Yeah, he took religion instead. He got super religious and he didn't want to do another horror movie. To answer your question, we got very lucky because Tom Matthews is the greatest actor in the history of the Friday the 13th franchise.
What do you think that does to your Part 6, though, Ronnie?
I don't like it. Tommy Jarvis is a huge reason why I like Tom Matthews is a huge reason why I like Part 6. Now we can do a whole video on that, Blake, where we can break down why, in fact, I do like Tom Matthews' performance in Part 6, because we probably can sit here and pick his performance apart and say it was probably the third or fourth best performance out of an actor in that movie. But it's something about Tom Matthews and the relationship of me and horror movies in the 80s, especially one of my favorite movies, Return of the Living Dead, and seeing this guy in this movie and the nostalgia factor. And like I said, Friday 13th Part 6, that's my Jason. That's my Tommy Jarvis. That's my movie. So, hey, Nick Wood coming in with something right here. He said that was filmed in Corey Feldman's backyard. So there you go. Allie says if they put it in an insane asylum, then it's like Nightmare on Elm Street. That's true too, because there was enough. All right, so you got Pam right here. Pam was one of the, I guess, clinical doctors in this boathouse / asylum. Blake,
she's not Matt Squeeze.
Is she Matt? She's definitely Matt Squeeze, but she's also one of the runners of this camp. So I don't know if she's the most memorable character, but you remember her because it's her truck that Tommy's driving in Part 6. You got Matt, who we've made the argument that when the killer's revealed, it looks like it's Matt that just got killed. Matt has something about him right here. He's got the good looks. He's got the feathered hair, Blake. And fun fact, he's the one that gives Indiana Jones his hat in Last Crusade when it shows young Indiana Jones. So, I mean, I thought it would have been a cool movie, a cool aspect of it if Matt is really crazy and killing these people. But he's a perfect red herring, and he's a good character throughout this movie. Roy. All right, so Roy turned out to be the killer. His son was murdered at the very beginning of it, and he decided, like Pamela Voorhees, his son was killed, and he's going to take it out on everybody at the place where his son was killed. So Roy, one at a time, sometimes 2 at a time with toys, kills anybody around that area.
You're telling me that's not Matt laying there?
It looks like Matt. It really does look like Matt, but that is Roy. So you say something.
Look at Roy. You talking to me, Sheriff? Hey, guess what I read about that sheriff today?
What'd you read?
His wife, while he was doing a Broadway play, his wife was murdered in their apartment in New York. So he came home, grabbed his kid, and moved to Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah.
It is the safest state in the union. You got the crazies, Blake. All right. And look, I'm going to switch formats real quick for us. So give me just a second because I want people to be able to see this a little bit better. Where we at? Right here. All right. So for everybody watching, I wanted to blow this up for you so you can appreciate what we got here. We've got Robin and Jake. Okay, Jake is a stutterer. He tries to get a little play at the end of the movie, and he didn't mean it. And she laughs at him. It's horrible. Robin's ugly. She would have been lucky to have a guy like Jake with his hair brushed like that. We got Joey, who started this whole mess. It's hard to believe that so many lives were lost because of that fat, slow slob, but that's the reason this happened. You've got Eddie and Tina, who are they have like a 15-minute love scene in this movie that everybody's fixated on, especially the perverts. You got Victor, who for some reason they let have access to not only tractors at the beginning of the movie, but axes and weapons, and he's definitely not stable. He chops up poor fat Joey until he cuts his arm off.
Yeah.
So, and
I'm
also Matt does a horrible job at monitoring these 40-year-olds out there because this argument went on way too long without a nurse or an orderly or a cookie or whoever to come out there and stop it.
Well, yeah, it's like what Nurse Chambers says. They just let them wander around like that out there. I mean, they're all outside, and you mentioned how old they are. I mean, how lucky are we that this halfway house just happens to feature 8 people all around the same age? I mean, shouldn't we sprinkle in a couple of 40-year-olds, couple of 28-year-olds, couple of 19, 20-year-olds? I mean, these are all right around the same. And I'm pretty sure I worked with Eddie in the oil field, Ronnie.
There you go. Eddie's probably 22. Joey's probably 25 in this movie. Robin and Jake, they could be anywhere from 18 to 25. Tina's 40. Violet's 21. And Victor is 37 years old, ready to go on The Price is Right. So that's the crazy characters. I mean, Violet, she has no purpose in this movie other than to do the dance scene. And Blake, you were telling me her murder scene, her death scene is a crotch kill, was an original crotch kill anyway.
So the director, the porn director that Nick Push is talking about, and he was a porn director, he had an idea. He had a theory that if he had a lot of sex and nudity, that's all the MPAA or whoever does it would want to cut when he sent him the film, and he would get to keep all his gore and kills. Well, he was wrong, and they ended up cutting a ton. Like there was a bunch of the death scene. Every death scene was totally different, Ronnie. And Violet, while she's doing gymnastics or exercising or whatever she's doing, she gets a machete all the way in the crotch.
Okay, so where's the quality control around there, Blake? I don't know how much we're going to have to get our buddy Vincent Dasani back on here and ask him how this works actually on set, because at any point do you look at this director and go, what are you doing? We're not going to do this. That is stupid. The first 4 movies have made money. We're going to do this movie exactly like the other movies, except we're going to have a twist at the end that shows that Jason's still dead and it's a copycat killer. But all these other great ideas, you don't get to do them because you're a porn director and your opinion means nothing. We hired you for pennies. I mean, where was the people on set to say this to this idiot? Now I say that, and the movie's still good. I mean, I'm not saying that he ruined the movie, but I am saying that them keeping the porn scenes, I mean, it just felt out of place, even in a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, no joke.
But okay, that's the crazies. So, and then we move on to the cops. Like the sheriff in this movie, he's got really good scenes. In the scenes he's in, he steals the scene. And then you got Gordy's dad underneath below him that just wants his son to be a cop, and he won't. Instead, he's watching damn WCW wrestling, and he wants his son to fire that effing pigskin. So there you go. And then you got what looks like, I think we brought this up, you specifically, Blake, the mayor, who looks like he's got mafia ties. He's like, you better find me a suspect. You've got 3 cops in this town. I want to know who's killing these crazies.
Well, something that nobody ever talks about. You want to know why this one is this movie is fantastic and deserves to be up there? This is the first time you hear Jason Voorhees This is the first time you hear the full name together in a movie. You didn't hear it in the first four, Ronnie. You heard Jason. You didn't even hear Jason in part 3. I don't want your life.
She gets it. She got it.
But
You're
yeah,
right.
he's sitting there and he tells the mayor, "You want a suspect? It's Jason Voorhees." That's the first time you get a full name in the first 5 movies.
Yeah, and why wouldn't he say that? It's a common sense answer to him, Blake. We're only about a couple of years. How many years after part 4 is this one supposed to take place? 5 years?
That's a good question because look at little Corey Feldman compared to this Tommy Jarvis. I mean, you're
Yeah,
talking about.
it's got to be like
This is also
5
the first movie that doesn't take place the next day, too. Which I know there was a 3 or 4 year gap between 1 and 2, but 2, 3, and 4 are all back to back.
All right, give me just a second.
Part 4 actually takes place on like Tuesday to
I
16th or something.
I used to be up to date on exactly. I'm scrolling through right now. I usually don't do this. Hold on. Did I really just?
And I'm
What
pretty
a
sure the mayor comes back to the
idiot.
sheriff and he's like, Jason Voorhees was cremated. What are you talking about? So we did get a little bit of, which it could just be misinformation, you know.
Why
But he
would you
does.
even? Why would you even take the time to put out an article that gives the actual timeline? That's when the movie's released. We're not stupid. We know that. Okay, hold on. Friday 13th, Part 3, 1983. Uh, no, that's not right. That is not right. Okay, so Friday the 13th, Part 2 took place in 85. That was the 5 year gap. Friday the 13th, Part 3. Okay, Friday the 13th, Part 4. And this movie, I think, takes place 5 years after that.
I
Yes,
think
exactly right. It's 5 years. So in real timelines, Blake, this is 5 years after uh part 4. So we got to assume that he's 18 or 19 and Tommy was supposed to be 13 or 14 or maybe he's supposed to be 17 or 18 in this movie. But this movie takes place 5 years after. Why wouldn't this sheriff look at the mayor and go, "It's Jason Voorhees"? I mean, he's the only person around this area that has killed people like these people are being killed. And then that's the mayor has to tell him, "You better bring me a live suspect because we cremated the body of Jason Voorhees." Which opens up the possibility of, did his body really get cremated? And if his body didn't get cremated, did his body escape and go back into the woods? And has he been out there waiting for Tommy to come back? And then logical questions would pop in, like, how does he know Tommy's back if he's been in the woods? Things like that. So,
well, I remember we did a video a while back on Friday the 13th theories, and one of your theories that you read was Roy is in the casket in part 6, and he's the one who gets brought back. And
yeah,
it's actually Zombie Roy, even though the headstone, the tombstone says Jason Voorhees.
Nick coming in saying part 7's technically like in 1999 or something, if you go by the math. Absolutely, Nick. Part 1 was in 1980. Part 2 takes place 5 years later, which would make it 1985. Everybody knows part 3 and 4 are days after part 2. Part 5 takes place 5 years after that, which is roughly 1990. Part 6 takes place like in 1991.
No, it's not a year later.
Not entirely sure.
It's definitely not a year later.
We'll get those timelines. We'll do a video about just strictly about the timelines again. Nick's got another good question right here before I get back on these cops. Was Ralph ever a resident at this nut house? See, I'm thinking Ralph was not a resident at this nut house. I think Ralph's always been the down on his luck town drunk for whatever reason. Life got ruined. Wife ran off. Something like that. I don't think he's ever just been. I think Crazy Ralph is just what they call the town eccentric, if that makes sense. So, Blake, even the cops and the mayor are decent side characters on this. And then you got the scene stealers, Blake, like Ethel and Junior. Okay. Every scene that Ethel and Junior are in is absolute magic. And that's not hyperbole right there. I'm being completely honest. They are
It's
great.
gold.
She has got some of the best lines in the franchise. He is gross and dirty and filthy, playing the son who might be the child of a woman and her brother. He's so stupid.
Yeah, he's Dollar General Randy Quaid.
Is there anything worse than like the Dollar General brand? I would say he's like the Dollar Tree Randy Quaid. So you got Miguel Nunez, who plays Demon, Reggie's brother. Okay. Did I skip through Reggie? Did I not put Reggie on here? I thought I made a slide for Reggie. I guess I went right by it, but I guess I didn't put it in my slideshow. But Reggie is a child character in this, and he's one of those non-annoying child characters. And he actually screams like a girl and shows some courage at the end of the movie. So Reggie is even a good character in this movie. He's the one. Allie's got it, the Wish version of Randy Quaid. So Demon in this movie is really good. When you think about Friday the 13th Part 5, you think about, ooh, baby, hey baby. I mean, and it's 1985. Who's still using an outhouse at this point? So that's a great scene. And like you pointed out multiple times when we talked about this movie, Blake, he's such a good actor because he's got actual tears falling from his face to show that the pain from the spike getting rammed into his leg and through his chest. And it
Well,
brings
it's pain and it's fear. I mean, and you actually, he drove all the way out there to see his little brother Reggie, and it's sad. I mean, you connect with that character just for a moment, and it's taken away. Now, why Roy goes and kills them, who knows? How he gets way out there and kills them, who knows? But it is what it is.
it's a horror movie, and you could ask that as a valid question. Why is he way out there? Why is he bothering him? But I mean, that doesn't make this movie any less good. Okay, if it was Jason doing that killing way out there, Blake, people ask that question. No,
I don't know what you said.
All right, so Billy, who looks like Billy, who looks like the Micro Machines man. He wants order of Lana to go or something. Lana with nothing on her, or whatever he says.
Cocaine.
He's the Axel. Yeah, he's the Axel in this movie. He's looking at a porno magazine in the front of that van whenever they're driving Tommy wherever they're driving him. He's a pervert. He's a cokehead. He takes an axe to the back of the head. Over here, staying on the right side, guys, you got Grandpa. You got Reggie's grandpa. You got Cookie. He's got some great lines in this movie too. Right after Joey gets killed and Victor gets hauled off, the next morning he's like, "You set too many plates. I don't think Victor and Reggie. I mean, Victor and Joey are going to be joining us this morning." So, but plus at the end, he gets hurled through the window with a hammer through his head. I don't know why they killed this guy. Pete and Vinny, for some reason, they're dressed like 50s slickers, and they're out in the middle of the woods. And Pete's got that great, "Hey, ain't starting. Hey, ain't starting." And Vinny, who's obviously in love with Pete. You got Raymond, who I just learned his name today. He's the homeless bum in the woods that wanders up to Ethel and Junior's house. "I hadn't eaten 3 days. I'd like to fill my stomach." And
Ronnie, go back and watch that kill on YouTube. Roy says "kill" whenever he stabs Raymond in the belly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I never knew that. But all these guys are and females are scene stealers. Allie's absolutely right. There's no way that guy could pull that chick. I don't know, Allie. Obviously, you've never dated a cokehead. I mean, people flock to coke dealers no matter what they look like. You can get a lot of women with being a coke dealer. So that's my argument, Blake, about why this movie is so great. The characters are fantastic. Fantasy. And I think it's like I said earlier when I started this 10 minutes ago, this movie has some of the best characters in the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
All right, Blake, go into your next one. Unnecessary nudity.
Yeah, Ronnie, to this point, I mean, this Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th Part 5 has the most kills and the most nudity of any movie. So absolutely, that makes it that puts it up there toward the top. What was you saying?
Help me out real quick. I thought the only nudity scene was the two weirdos out in the woods.
No, buddy. No, well, your mic's cutting out. But Lana, the one who's dating the Micro Machines guy, she's in the bathroom. She lets those puppies out and say, "You are so hot." She does that. And then you got the ugly redhead that turns down Jake. She does unnecessary nudity in the hallway or something like that. So yeah, we got a bunch of that going on.
Nick's bringing up the point that the chick in the woods is Debbie Sue Voorhees, who went on to make 13th Fanboy, which is a horrible movie. The best part of that movie is Vincent DeSanti as the boyfriend. So unnecessary nudity. I guess you're right in the fact that you love unnecessary nudity. I don't care either way. So, and then lastly, Blake, before we run this stream into the ground, okay, Nick says that shirtless Tommy Jarvis is pretty ripped. Look, not only is he pretty ripped, he's got some good fight moves in this movie, except when it comes down to it. I mean, it's like if Rocky trained the whole movie to box and then he gets knocked out with one punch. You never actually get to see him do anything to try to protect himself against Jason, except stab him in the knee before Reggie does the high cross body. Last thing we're going to talk about, Blake. The kills are very good.
Yeah.
This movie has some really good kills. We'll start from the very beginning. During the flashback, or not really the flashback, but the dream sequence to open the movie, Jason stabbing those guys in the guts, beating their guts, is a great death scene. Then you fold right into Joey getting chopped up by Victor. That's pretty brutal. He buries that.
And it's out of nowhere.
Yeah, you don't expect that. Look, you're sitting there going, okay, I know what's happening right here. This is going to be the aggressive, crazy guy at the place, and he's going to get killed and look like a coward. No, this guy buries this double-sided axe right into Joey's fat back, and then he gets hauled off by the cops. And then you go to the two that are making out in the woods. Now she gets the double eye stab. And he gets a very clever strap around the head and then a stick through, and they wind it until it crushes his skull.
It messes his eyes up. Roy has a lot of eye kills in this one too, Ronnie, because I know you probably didn't watch it today, but Grandpa gets thrown through the window and his eyes are gouged out.
You got to assume he used those hedge clippers and stabbed a bunch of people in the eyes with it. Hey, in the chat real quick, guys, hit us with what is your favorite kill from Friday the 13th, part 5? List it in the chat. Put FK in front of it so we know it's your favorite kill and we can read it off. But then, then you roll into Lana and the Micro Machines man. He takes an axe to the back of the head, which is a very gory kill. And you'll have to remind me how she died, Blake, because I can't remember. I haven't seen this movie in a few months. But she gets killed a certain way. And then it's each singular kill throughout the nut house. Like we said, Violet gets picked up above Jason's head and stabbed. The two nut bags are killed. Jake, does it show Jake? Jake takes a knife across the face, doesn't he, Blake?
Jake, yeah, but it's off camera kill. All you get is
like that right there.
You got Demon and his girlfriend.
That's a very brutal kill. And then you find the fact that Matt has his head nailed into a tree in the woods when they finally find him. So lots of brutal kills. And even when you go to Roy and how Jason's killed in this, Reggie runs into him with a tractor. His guts are hanging out. He goes in there and he gets knocked off, and he falls on that bed of nails, which impales him and kills him. This movie is filled with lots of great kills that should make any Friday the 13th fan happy.
Two questions, Ronnie. The guy who says, "Come on, Roy, get your hands dirty," he doesn't get killed, right? He doesn't make another appearance, does he?
No, he doesn't get killed.
All right. Part 2. Why do you think we didn't get no more interaction with sheriff, deputy, or mayor? They're done, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just wanted to get that one scene in, Blake, where to let you know that it still seems like if the sheriff thinks that it's Jason Voorhees doing all this killing, then he would make sure he would set up his deputies all around that place to prevent Jason Voorhees from coming in there. But that's never done unless he just sits back and says, screw it, after the mayor reads him the riot act about he's going to have his job if he don't bring him a damn live suspect. So I don't know there. That makes sense. It would probably been better if the cops would have been there and got killed, but you never get any cop Jason interaction until part 6, unless you count the guy that got his head busted in part 2. Let's see real quick. Mark Mack says the hedge clippers kill is awesome.
Hey, Mark, how's it going? I don't recognize that name, Ronnie.
No, we got something. Welcome aboard, Mark. Nick Push says the belt against the tree is ridiculously brutal. For the longest time as a kid, I thought the reason that he died was because he busted his eyes out, and it took me becoming an adult and having a little bit of sense to know that he supposedly crushed his skull. Allie says the belt would have been horrible to have done to you. Look at that's why she takes direction. The belt scene. FK. Let's see.
What's up, Chris?
Michael Fantazi. Well, no, Chris Fantazi. I'm getting them mixed up. Chris, who sent me a picture of him holding somebody's nuts the other night. What's up, Chris? Glad to see you. Let's see. Oh, holy crap, Blake.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for the super chat, Chris. $2. How my favorite brother's doing? We're doing good. It's been a long week, a real long week. I hope that didn't. Wow, I didn't even think about that. If that sound effect came through the speakers of the computer and woke my daughter up, I may have to stay in. I may have to stay in here a little while. And just because it's Chris, I've got something special for people that actually donate money and support the channel. Got a couple of clips for you, Chris, just for you. Hold on a second. Let me get him off here. Let's see. We really do appreciate that, Chris. All right, ready for this? Blake hadn't even seen this yet. Alone.
What are we doing?
Good looking, but you know I ain't shy. Ain't afraid to look at girl. Ain't good
look. And y'all want to see me pop? Y'all want to see me pop Blake with the video clips? Guaranteed, this is going to pop Blake. This is for you, Chris.
Wiping just my ass, because I mean, I can't reach everything on my back and I can't reach everything below me, so you know, it's whatever. Wiping just my ass, because I mean, I can't reach everything on my back and I can't reach everything below me, so you know, it's whatever.
One more time, please, Ronnie. One more time. I need it one more time.
Wiping just my ass, because I mean, I can't reach everything on my back and I can't reach everything below me, so you know, it's whatever.
It's whatever. I'm with you, brother. I mean, it's whatever.
Oh, thanks for the donation, Chris. I will add more clips like this for people who want to donate in the future. I told y'all I was going to pop him.
Did he say I can't wipe my ass? Is that what he said?
No, he just said he was talking about wiping himself. It's hard. Oh. Hey.
I don't know which one's my favorite. I really love the Mario jumping on the because he looks at us and smiles. But I really like. He lives in the. Oh, we got to get that guy on the show. I mean, he's got to help us review something, Major League or something.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going back to the chat, Blake. I'm going back to the chat. Sorry, I lost it.
Mark is gonna be so mad at Nick. Nick sent him here.
Nick sent him. Oh, he said Blake's been stalking me, Chris. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes, I did. I did snort. I'm sorry. All right, real quick in the chat, if you guys have any questions about Friday the 13th Part 5, if you have any reasons why this movie sucks and you think this movie sucks, hit us in the chat real quick, and we're going to start wrapping it up otherwise.
I mean, this is number 6 in the franchise, Ronnie.
Number 6?
Wouldn't you agree?
Okay, let's do the ratings right now. I'm going to do
No,
my...
I'm just going to say this. I think it's better than 7. I think it's better than 8. I think
Yes.
it's better than Goes to Hell.
Yes.
I think it's better than Freddy vs. Jason.
Yes. I think it's better than a remake.
That's a close one. That's a close one. I think I'm more nostalgic for this one over the remake, but yeah, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 are all above it.
This is definitely a movie that, for me personally, this is a movie that's gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should really just take a dump on this movie because Jason's not in it.
Losers.
Roy does a great job. Roy does a great job of killing and being a badass killer. And it's not to the very end of it when it's revealed when the mask and the fake ball cap comes off. That's not really Jason. So
it's Matt.
Yeah. So I mean, I cut Roy some slack. He was just being the male version of Mrs. Voorhees. He wanted to kill everybody that hurt his son. So there you go. All right, Blake, that'll wrap it up. That's Friday the 13th. Guys, make sure you go back and check our Mac and Me video out if you haven't seen it from this past Wednesday. We sat there for about an hour and a half and we talked Mac and Me, and all the people that hung around while we talked Mac and Me, Blake, it was amazing because who the hell wants to hang around and listen to two guys talk about Mac and Me? Nick says it's the middle of the pack for him. The MPAA butchered it like part 7, but the characters in 7 are god awful. So this one wins over that. I think the more and more as we go, the true, watch what I'm fixing to do, Blake. The true Friday the 13th fans really, really respect part 5 and think it. Okay, now let's look at it. Part 1. All right. Then part 2, 3, and 4. Great movies.
Yeah.
Part 5, we are now considering part 5 a really great movie. So now you got 5 great installments in this franchise. Part 6, I think, I don't think it is my favorite. I don't think it's as good as part 2 or part 4, but it's another great installment of the franchise. And I'm going to tell you right now, Blake, I'm going to start watching part 7 and seeing if I don't like that movie. I think Nick just hit it on the head. The characters in part 7 are completely awful, but it's a good Jason. It's a good looking Jason, maybe the best looking Jason. But it doesn't hold up to parts 1 through 6. So it really starts falling. Chris says part 5, what's with the chicken killing? That's true. There were a bunch of chickens getting killed. What was killing those chickens, Blake? Was it Roy or was it the homeless guy so we can get some food?
I don't know.
Why was that guy home? Why was that guy homeless, Blake?
He probably bought Dogecoin. I agree with you, though, Ronnie. Only real Friday 13th fans appreciate this movie. If you don't appreciate this movie, you're not a Friday 13th fan. It's like only OG Halloween fans, can appreciate how great Halloween Ends is.
Oh, without a doubt, Blake. If you're not a real Halloween fan, if you don't appreciate what Donald Gordon Green did with Halloween,
that got me. That was a good one.
I knew I could pop you with that.
That was a good one.
All right, so Shane's here. All right, hold on. Let's say
I gotta get with Shane privately. I gotta ask you some questions about how it's going this year.
What is season?
Yeah.
I gotta let me say time to set Shane straight. Where's he been on Wednesdays? He better have a Wednesday night class.
Dude, you know what he's got going on, man. He's balling.
Oh.
You see he don't have time.
There's no Wednesday night games. You're absolutely right, Chris. Corey does rule.
Yeah,
Nobody else.
Shane's in the cages.
Nobody else wrestles Michael Myers to the ground that easy and takes his mask off of him. That's a real stud. That's what we call an alpha in the movie world. And he took the chick. He got the chick too, Blake.
Got her pregnant.
Yeah, he did. Blasted. Anyway, Blake, that'll wrap it up. Guys, thank you guys for coming out. And did we win or lose, Blake?
White Sox lost, Ronnie. It was pretty pathetic. The great bullpen that everyone's bragging about this year, they came in and blew Lance Lynn's lead, and we lost to the Astros 6-3. It was ridiculous. It was awful, and it made me sick to my stomach.
Here's a good question right here. Shane's asking Nick in the chat. Now we've joined the chat show, Blake. Have you seen John Wick Chapter 4 yet? Nick, have you?
He says he hadn't. I hadn't seen 2 or 3 yet. I saw John Wick 1. I watched it during one of my son's performances, and I thought it was fantastic, but I hadn't seen 2 or 3 yet.
All right, Blake, real quick before we go, who's the sexiest person in Friday the 13th Part 5?
Oh, gosh, Ron.
Chat, let us know who's the sexiest person in Friday the 13th Part 5 really quick before we go.
Who is the sexiest person in Part 5?
It's got to be between... It's got to be between Tommy with that body, Matt with that face. It's got to be one of those two, right?
I mean, I was going to go the Micro Machines guy, the Coke dealer who, who's about to lay down Lana.
He's the biggest Coke dealer in the county, so you're probably right. Not only has he got a personality on him, he doesn't care. It's the reason he's reading those type of magazines in the front seat of the car. He don't care if he gets fired. He's got that Coke money.
Who does more Coke, him or Mac from Mac and Me?
Oh, Mac, definitely from Mac and Me. Let's see. Shane says Part 5 is the only Friday the 13th film with a Playboy bunny. Which one's the Playboy bunny?
The one who got her guts rearranged in the woods.
Oh, okay. Nick saying the sexiest is Matt.
They filmed that sex scene for 13 hours, Ronnie.
How do you... Okay, wait. They filmed... I don't even want to ask that question. How do you film a sex scene for 30? Once again, it goes back. We started this stream.
Got to ask Peter North.
At what point does somebody on set go, what are we doing?
Well, I think they had a guy walk off and quit because he's like, this is a porn movie. And everybody's like, and?
No, I have not seen the Crystal Lake Memories documentary. I don't have 11 hours to kill on that crap. I saw it on Shudder.
Is it on Shudder? I might fall asleep to it tonight.
Oh, look at this. Nick says it's detailed and amazing.
Nick, change your picture. Pull that back up. I mean, just look how weird you look, Nick. Change your picture.
I think it looks great.
He timed it just right to almost look at the webcam. Change it, Nick. You're better than that.
Here's a question for Nick in the chat, or I guess we could just message him. I'm wondering when the It review is coming.
Yeah, dude, come on, get on that. We need some content. And Bud, I know you're out there somewhere. Where's the freaking content, man? Come on.
Guys, Bud, we count on you guys to put out content that can help us make it through the day. So you guys have got to get on it. I want to know what Nick Push thinks about It. Head over to Nick Push's Hard channel. Subscribe if you hadn't. I'm pretty sure everybody in this chat are Nick Push's fans. Nick Push is the reason we have an audience on this Friday night, Blake. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for showing up. That pick means you have to stay away from schools.
Mark Mack, big Bucks fan. Mark, are you a Baker Mayfield guy now?
Just talk Friday the 13th. Nobody worries about me. All right. I got to end this, Blake. It's time to go to bed. It's WrestleMania weekend. Hopefully everybody's watching WrestleMania. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Sorry about the sound problems. After Tuesday, we're rocking and rolling with some great internet, Blake.
Ronnie, putting you on the spot. Are we doing a WrestleMania watch along tomorrow?
We can't do a WrestleMania watch along, Blake, because we don't have the setup to do a WrestleMania watch along. I'm sorry. I know you were looking forward to doing that, but there's just no way I can do a WrestleMania watch along and take that much time away from my wife and daughter. Can't do it.
I may go live on Twitter and do some kind of WrestleMania watch along.
Well, good luck with all that.